Welcome to the NWR Aussie Resources Conference. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Next up, we have Investigator Resources. As you can see on the screen, Australia's highest grade silver project, a little bit of a sniff of rare earths down there as well. The ASX code is IVR. Joining us today is Andrew McIlwain. He is the Managing Director. It's a really exciting project. And most of you will know silver is fabulous as a commodity. Andrew, over to you. What's the update?
Oh, Kerry, great to speak with you again. And look, gee, after that intro, not much else to say, actually. But look, having said that, we have been very busy at Investigator, and I'll run through a few slides and give people an update about Australia's highest grade silver project, as you said, but also through some good geology, we've actually identified rare earths in the same tenement as our Paris Silver Project. So I'll touch base on that as well. But people can read this disclaimer on our website if they need to help themselves go to sleep at night. But I'll just spend a little bit of time talking about Investigator. As Kerry said, ASX listed, IVR is the code. We actually have quite a substantial ground holding in South Australia. We have over 8,500 square kilometres of tenements. Our Paris Silver Project is 100% owned by Investigator. It's about a 7-hour drive from, and I'll just trying to get my cursor there, about a 7-hour drive from Adelaide up as you go west to Western Australia, just north of the small community called Kimber. The JORC compliant resource was declared about 18 months ago, 53 million ounces of silver in resource with nearly 100,000 tonnes of lead. That has an in-ground value of somewhere north of 1.5 billion Australian dollars. Importantly, and what I tried to sort of present to people is how do you value, or how do you sort of get an understanding of the size of this project? On a gold-silver ratio equivalent, if this was a gold project, it's around about an 800,000 ounce gold project, runs about 1.5 to 2 grams gold. So if it was close to Kalgoorlie, it would have been mined 20 years ago. But silver's being a little bit different and not quite as sort of in front of people's awareness in the investment community. We have completed a PFS. We announced that to the market last year. We're currently beavering away behind the scenes on those things that aren't particularly newsworthy in completing the DFS. We've got some exploration within 5 kilometres I'll talk about. But importantly, also to the east, about 80 kilometres to the east, we have a package of tenements called Morgans, and we've had some recent exploration success there, both base metals and silver as well. More importantly, last week we announced to the market a rare earths discovery, which is in fact on the Peninsula tenement, which is this tenement that the Paris project resides on. And I'll talk some about the highlights of that rare earths discovery. We've got 2 large tenement packages under farm out deals. Everyone says they've got an experienced and capable team. We've got one as well, but in fact, 2 of our geologists have been on the Paris project for 10 years, so they know where everything is in the project, and they've got an intimate knowledge of that project. But we're also one of South Australia's most active explorers, second only behind BHP and Fortescue a couple of years ago, and we're seeing the benefits of nearly 50,000 metres of drilling done over the last couple of years, starting to deliver us results. A little quick snapshot, 1.3 billion shares out, current share price a bit over 5 cents, and it gives us a market capitalisation of around 70 million. End of the financial year, we had a bit over 6 million cash in the bank, and we have a very supportive shareholder in Jupiter Asset Management who hold nearly 15% of the stock. They are great silver bulls, love our silver story. We have a large shareholder base of over 5,500 people. The company's headed by Richard Hillis, who's South Australian-based ex-professor and lecturer at university, well-known. Andrew Shearer, ex-PAC, also well-known in the investment community. But importantly, I ask people to sort of take note of the graph on the left, which is our share price marked against the US silver price. And you can see we move in lockstep with the silver price. So I keep saying to people that if you're thinking about silver, you should be thinking about Investigator, because we give an absolute leverage to the silver price. Just a little bit of background of silver. Sometimes, as I said, people aren't quite as aware. It's a growing use, and if you talk about decarbonisation and electrification of the world, then whilst you need lithium, whilst you need copper, one of the things you need almost as importantly is silver, because if every electric component will have some silver in it. One of the interesting things is it's the most thermally and electronic conductive material around, and it's also quite ductile. You can draw a 1 ounce silver bar out to a kilometre-long piece of wire.
Wow.
If you wanted to do that. It's used in circuit boards, semiconductors, and just as a case in point, over 20 million ounces of silver has been used in the 5G networks. Antibacterial, antiviral use, as everyone knows about, being born with a silver spoon in your mouth, which was to, and also putting a silver dollar in your water to stop algae growing. But with each electric solar panel that's being produced, every one contains about 1 ounce of silver. And unfortunately, solar panels aren't particularly recyclable. So as people move to solar power generation, obviously silver consumption increases. So too electric vehicles with a couple of ounces of silver in every one. And combined over the next 3 or 4 years, that's going to add a couple of 100 million ounces to world consumption. As I said, if you're thinking about silver and if you think about green, then the future of green is in fact silver. Diminishing supply, the other side of the metric is that there's around 900 million ounces of silver produced annually in the world. A lot of it's byproducts and a lot of it comes out of China, Russia and South America. Australia's a large byproduct producer from the Cannington mine in Queensland. But what they're finding is that the primary silver producers, their head grades are diminishing quickly. Output fell over the last couple of years, and as I said, demand is going to increase. Brings me on to our 100% owned Paris Silver Project. As I mentioned, PFS completed some really robust financials out of the project. We did do it at a price that's a little higher than the current Australian silver price. But we refer to the Australian dollar price all the time because everything we will be doing is in $. We'll produce doré on site and that'll be sold to a domestic refiner. So importantly, the all-in sustaining cost for this project came out at a little more than half the current selling price when we did this at $32. So quite a significant margin. But importantly, we presented a very simple project. And when I say that, it was only to targeting the recovery of the silver. We actually have 100,000 tonnes of lead that will go through the processing plant that we haven't taken into account any revenue contribution at this stage. So during the DFS, we're working on lead recovery. It doesn't have to be a particularly significant concentrate or pretty concentrate because Port Pirie is only 300 kilometres down the road from us and it would be a logical off-taker for that. A very simple project, a small open pit, about 100 metres deep. The nature of the geology is such that we forecast that about 70% of that material won't need drilling and blasting. So again, reducing our mining cost. We plan to mine it quite quickly, and that's because the bigger the gear you can get in there, the cheaper you can move per tonne of material. And it's currently not resource constrained. We have an opportunity to drill to the southern end of the pit here. We also have an opportunity to drill to the eastern part here. We've just completed a nearly $1 million diamond drill program, drilling geotechnical holes and some hydrological holes to better understand the behaviour of pit walls. We anticipate that we're going to be able to steepen the pit walls up, improve the strip ratio, improve the economics. And a couple of the other things that we haven't factored into our study at this stage is in fact taking the waste back and dumping it into the pit. And as you can see, there's 4 stages of development of this pit, and we would bring waste and dump it back in rather than having to cart it further away and put it into a waste dump, which would be an additional cost. Really straightforward processing plant, a simple 3-stage crushing, conventional grinding process and cyanide leaching, what we call a Merrill-Crowe silver recovery process, a little bit different to gold recovery. But as I mentioned before, we'd be producing silver bars on site that would go to a domestic refinery. What we are proposing, and as we move through the permitting process, this will be the first dry stack tails proposal or operation in South Australia. And by that I mean we'll filter the tailings in the processing plant and take them out to a waste dump, or in fact we may mix it with the waste. We won't have a conventional pond for tailings disposal. One of the beauties of that for us is that it actually maximises our water recovery. It also minimises the area that the tailings facility will take up. So As I said, that'll be a first off in South Australia. Last couple of projects I've been involved in, we've used dry stack tailings, and I wouldn't do anything else anymore.
Wow.
Great opportunity for solar power generation. It's unfortunate 12 hours of the day will be dark, so we won't be able to run the plant entirely on solar. So there'll be diesel power. It'll be a hybrid solution. And as I mentioned before, some of the opportunities going forward is the lead recovery that we're focusing on in the DFS study, but also we have opportunities to extend the mine life through exploration success within 5 kilometres. And we've actually, and my next slide after this is I'll talk about the success we've had close to Paris. But I always say a picture tells 1,000 words, and this is an aerial photo looking north to south in the project site. It's not burdened by the challenges that you might have in a different location. We have no community that's associated with this. It's on very arid pastoral lands. There's no arable land here. We'll probably displace a few wild goats when we start mining. We have a great relationship with the traditional owners. In fact, they were on site yesterday, and there's no cultural significant issues associated with this part of the project. But as we move forward, we're, as I said, in that phase of doing some things that aren't particularly newsworthy. I've talked about the geotechnical analysis of the pit. We, at the end of this month, start of October, we'll start putting some water bores in to test and quantify the water source for the process plant. Talked about lead recovery opportunities. We'll finalise that infrastructure and process plant design, and that'll lead us into permitting and approvals. And a very important step in that is what I refer to as the NTMA, which is the Native Title Mining Agreement that we'll strike with the Gawler Ranges Aboriginal Corporation. We actually have an NTMA in place with them now for the exploration activity, and we need to lift that up to a production NTMA. But as I said, our relationship with the Gawler Ranges group is great. Pepper and mining lease are things that go through the statutory state bodies. It's a great jurisdiction to operate in. We already have a case manager assigned to us, so we anticipate that without having sort of significant impact to communities or waterways or anything, this will be a relatively straightforward approval process. Post that, where we expect late 2023, we'd make an investment decision, and then a 12-month construction period after that would see us producing. Within 5 kilometres, we've got some great opportunity, and if you can see my cursor here, the pink area is the Paris project. Within 5 kilometres, we've just completed nearly 8,000 metres of drilling, got the best silver intersection outside Paris that's ever been drilled in the district, 8 metres at over 1 kilogram per tonne of silver, 3 metres at 3 kilos per tonne of silver. So some great intersections. Interestingly, the petrological samples that were analysed show that this is mineralogically identical to Paris. So we're hoping we've got the tiger by the tail, and we'll be back out drilling there before the end of the year. We also drilled Eyre, which sits here between Paris and Apollo, which is where this great intersection was, and had a great zinc intersection, nearly 40 metres at 1.3% zinc. So we'll keep chasing out here. As I said, it's a product now. We're seeing the benefits of a big drill program in 2021, 22, early this year, and we'll keep drilling to add to the Paris opportunity. Lo and behold, one of the things we found whilst we were out there drilling, and this is just testament to great geology and good people on the ground focused on what we were doing. In the northern part of Apollo, and if I come back, Paris is here at the south, and the northern part of Apollo, which is this target out here, the guys picked up, I should say guys and girls, ladies, because we have a female geologist on our team, picked up the opportunity that there may have been some clay-hosted rare earths. So we sent them off for assay, and we got some spectacular assays back, not only just total rare earths, but also the magnetic rare earths. And importantly, the ratio of those is in the upper range of what people is saying is great. So acknowledge that they're deeper than we'd like them to be, but we've only put a number of holes into this area. And in fact, of the 11 holes here that we looked at for the rare earth content, 8 of them came back with better than 1,000 parts per million total rare earths. It's a great setting. It falls here on the boundary of the Uno Fault and the Gawler Range volcanics to the north, and we'll get out and drill that before the end of the year, following up on these rare earth intersections as well. A little further to the east, I mentioned earlier that we have some package tenements we referred to as Uno Morgans. There's been no work done there by Investigator for nearly a decade. Once we started moving forward with Paris, we dedicated some resources to looking at Uno Morgans. A similar structural setting, I made reference to the Uno Morgans fault, which continues across here. The Gawler Range volcanic sits to the top, and you can see our drilling has been focused up against that fault. And in the first round of drilling we did at the start of this year, 24 of the 26 holes we drilled in these prospects intersected mineralisation. A great intersection out here, 12 metres at 240 grams. That's twice the resource grade at Paris of 128 grams. So great opportunity here at 12 Mile. Uno North, just in here, we picked up 123 metres of nearly 0.5% zinc. Great intersection. And again, we'll be back out in this district chasing not only these base metals and precious metals intersections, but it's the right setting for some rare earths as well. So we'll be following that up again with drilling at the back end of this year, start of 2023. Other tenements, we have, as I said, 8,500 square kilometres of tenements in South Australia. We have them from border to border. The Curnamona is over to the east near Broken Hill. We've been restricted being able to get on the ground. We have negotiated now some access agreements with the traditional owners and just finalising them almost as I speak. We've done some soil sampling and we're waiting for the assays, but this is quite an exciting area. Certainly Oz Minerals have focused up here now on some copper opportunities. So it'll be good to get on the ground. We've not been out there for 3 or 4 years. In the centre and in one of the great domains of geology in the world with Olympic Dam, Prominent Hill and Oak Dam through the Stewart Shelf here, we've got a great package of tenements which are being farmed into. The agreement was originally with DGO, that DGO has been taken over by Gold Road. It's a $6.3 million commitment over 5 years to earn into this package of tenements. We have some that are still owned by, owned by us here to the southwest, but they're chasing both sedimentary style copper and also IOCG copper. So DGO have the tenements sit in the centre here, so we've got great exposure to their continued exploration. Out to the west, we picked these tenements up, very prospective for nickel and copper. Western Areas announced a number of years ago their Sahara discovery out here. We picked these tenements up and have farmed them out to Osmond. I like having other people spend money on our tenements, and Osmond will spend $2.7 million over 5-6 years to earn into those tenements. Look, a quick wrap up. I keep saying it, we have the highest grade undeveloped silver project in Australia. And if you want to be invested or exposed to silver, then Investigator provides that opportunity for you. Great project financials from Paris. We think we can improve on that. As I said, bringing to the table revenue from the lead stream, at least some changes to how we manage and mine the pit, and we'll complete the DFS next year. South Australia is a great jurisdiction to work in, as we have walk-up access to regulators and administrators. As I said, we've been assigned a case manager to help us take that pathway through to approval. Outside Paris, we've got plenty of opportunities within 5 kilometres on the same tenement and 80 kilometres to the east. And we also have exposure to exploration upside through the 2 joint venture arrangements I mentioned. We do have a team, right from the chairman through me to the people on the ground, that have got great project knowledge and have got the skill set. We've got financiers, operators and explorers in our business. So we can take this project and the exploration tenements forward. And it's always, gee, this is the steak knives part. We didn't think that we were going to move away our focus, and we'll keep focusing on silver, but great to have some diversification with rare earth discovery at Apollo that we announced last week. Obviously some news flow coming because we are explorers. We've got cash, we keep drilling, and we'll generate results from that. Watch this space on rare earth opportunities, because no doubt Uno Morgans will throw up something that looks like what we've seen at Apollo, and we'll keep putting some technical news out about the DFS, which is, as I said, generally not particularly sort of something that moves the market. But as I said, thinking about investing in silver, you need to be invested in Investigator.
Wow, what a fantastic presentation, Andrew. No interruptions from me because you were on fire. Quick question, because we're running out of time. By the way, if you've got questions from the audience, please put them in the Q&A. Not too many because I don't have a lot of time, but be quick. Give me a question and I'll ask Andrew. Andrew, my quick question for you is what's the next development stage? Because this is, as you said, largest undeveloped silver project in Australia. How long before you can, I know these things take a while, but how long before you can start to look at really getting in, ramping up towards development and into production?
As I said, we will complete the DFS, we expect sort of early next year. Prior to that, we'll be doing some additional drilling. Excuse me. And there's obviously a fair... Sorry, I'll get choked up with emotion when I say it's going to take me a little while to do this. But as I said, we will push ahead as quickly and as we possibly can to get an investment decision, which will be later part of next year. So as I said, a few precursors to that, but if all things go according to our plan, 2024 would see us starting work on the project on the ground.
Nick's just coming with a quick question. What price does silver need to be at for this project to be economical? I think I remember you saying the all-in sustaining costs for the project was $1,745.
Sure, and when we looked at the economics of the project, $130 million capital, which we think's achievable, we worked on $32 Aussie. I've always said that if we have a silver price that's above $30 Aussie, we think we can make a fair fist of this project.
Fantastic. Andrew McIlwain, the Managing Director of Investigator Resources, ASX code IVR. It's all about silver, but now added value for shareholders in the Apollo Rare Earth discovery. Thanks so much, Andrew, for joining us at the NWR Aussie Resources Conference.
My pleasure, Kerry, and thanks very much to everyone listening.